We're going deep into the heart of the empire to take a look at what was arguably the most tumultuous year, a final year of Trump's presidency, 2020. A year marked by a global pandemic, social unrest, a contentious election, and even more unbelievable Trumpisms. Are you ready to uncover the shocking moments that made up 2020? Let's navigate the jump to hyperspeed together, Chewie. Downplaying the COVID-19 pandemic.
The risk to the American people remains very low. My administration will take all necessary steps to safeguard our citizens from this threat.
Despite knowing the severity of COVID-19 early on, Trump repeatedly downplayed its severity, calling it a hoax and likening it to the flu.
Now, the virus that we're talking about having to do, a lot of people think that goes away in April with the heat.
This misinformation contributed to a delayed response and widespread confusion. Downplaying the pandemic is like the Empire dismissing the Death Star's flaws. Dangerously ignorant.
Now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus, and this is their new hoax.
This downplaying led to a slower response to the COVID-19 pandemic and exacerbated the public health crisis. And Trump's response to the COVID-19 pandemic will make several more appearances on the list. Attacking mail-in voting. Throughout 2020, Trump repeatedly attacked mail-in voting without evidence, claiming that it would lead to widespread fraud.
This is going to be the greatest election disaster in history.
These claims undermine the public confidence in the electoral process. The relentless campaign against mail-in voting eroded public trust in the electoral process. Many voters were left uncertain as to whether their vote would be counted, undermining democracy at its core.
It'll be fixed, it'll be rigged. People ought to get smart.
It's like Palpatine insisting that the Jedi were rigging the Senate. These attacks sow doubt and confusion about the legitimacy of the election.
People ought to get smart.
The handling of the racial protests. Trump's response to the racial justice protests that happened after George Floyd's death were widely criticized. His administration's use of federal force against protesters and inflammatory rhetoric further fueled racial tensions.
We are ending the riots and lawlessness that has spread throughout our country. We will end it now.
It's like throwing gasoline into a fire and wondering why the flames are getting bigger. His actions deepened the divide and further fueled racial tensions within the United States.
The violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups.
Misleading statements about COVID-19. I told you Trump's response was going to make numerous appearances.
Supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way.
Trump promoted unproven treatments to COVID-19, promoting hydroxychloroquine, and even suggested to the American people that they inject disinfectant.
Hydroxychloroquine. Try it, if you'd like. And then I see the disinfectant. Is there a way we can do something like that? By injection. What do you have to lose? Take it. I really think they should take it. It may not work, but if it doesn't work, it's nothing lost by doing. Well, maybe it does, and maybe it doesn't. I don't want to wait a year and a half to find out. And only CNN would ask that question. Fake news.
These statements were widely criticized by medical experts, especially the injecting disinfectant one.
And I say, maybe you can, maybe you can't. I'm not a doctor. But I'm like a person that has a good, you know what.
Suggesting unproven treatments? That's like Han Solo suggesting traveling through the asteroid field. Dangerous and ill-advised. Against the odds. He does not learn. Separating families at the borders. I feel like we've done this one before on previous lists, but
The United States will not be a migrant camp, and it will not be a refugee holding facility. Won't be.
But in 2020, despite promising that family separation at the border would be ended, a report revealed that the practice continued, causing lasting trauma to both the child and the family alike.
Response to that?
We
did not.
They built the
separate
cages.
They,
Who built the cages, Joe?
let's talk about what
Who built the cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal. It's criminal.
They are so well taken care of. They're in facilities that were so clean.
But some of them haven't been reunited.
If Trump ran a daycare, he's the type he would lose the kids and then blame the parents. The continuing this policy highlighted ongoing humanitarian concerns within the administration. Refusing to concede the 2020 election, you knew this was going to make the list. After losing the 2020 election, Trump refused to concede, instead pushing baseless claims about widespread voter fraud.
We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
He refused to concede defeat until just a few months ago. He held this mistruth for 4 years.
There is strong evidence that this was an election that in at least 3 or 4 states and possibly 10, it was stolen.
This refusal to concede the election led to widespread distrust and division, and ultimately led to an insurrection attempt on the Capitol building a month later.
Were you calling the shots, though, Mr. President, ultimately?
As to whether or not I believed it was rigged, sure. It was my decision.
It's like Vader denying that the Death Star was blown up. Delusional and destructive. His actions or inactions in refusing to concede the election culminated in the riot in the January 6th Capitol building attack. Attacking Dr. Fauci, another COVID-related entry. Trump repeatedly undermined Dr. Fauci, the world's leading infectious disease expert during the global pandemic.
People are tired of hearing Fauci and all these idiots, these people that have gotten it wrong. Fauci's a nice guy. He's been here for 500 years. He called every one of them wrong. And he's like this wonderful guy, a wonderful sage telling us out.
These attacks and others have eroded the public trust in scientific guidance. Trump's criticism of Fauci was like arguing with a GPS over directions. Not gonna help.
But Fauci's a disaster. I mean, this guy's, if I listen to him, we have 500,000 deaths.
These attacks were just another measure with which Trump's administration hindered effective public health communication during a critical time.
With Fauci, if we listen to him, we have 800,000 deaths right now. So with that, I get along with him. If there's a reporter on, you can have it just the way I said. I couldn't care less.
Before we take a look at the top 3 unkind deeds performed by Trump in his final year as president, let's take a look at the dishonorable mentions that didn't quite make the top 10 list. Ignoring COVID-19 testing recommendations.
Anybody that needs a test gets a test. They're there. They have the tests. And the tests are beautiful. Anybody that needs a test gets a test.
Trump ignored widespread testing recommendations, claiming that it made the U.S. look bad because of the testing
again,
results.
That's a big decision. Do I want to bring all those people on? People would like me to do that. I don't like the idea of doing it. But anybody that needs a test can have a test.
Retweeting conspiracy theories. Trump frequently retweeted conspiracy theories, spreading misinformation and fostering distrust.
So should we in the press even spend time on those quotes from the president and the VP if they're misinformed? Well, yes, because the public needs to be able to evaluate the distance between their words and reality. So how should we do this in context? Here's what I mean. Last weekend, as the death toll in the United States topped 40,000 due to COVID-19, President Trump called Nancy Pelosi dumb. As the death toll rounded the corner toward 45,000, he lied about his approval rating. As the death toll was about to top 50,000, he talked about injecting disinfectants. 50,000 dead, and he claimed he was just pranking the media. 51,000 dead, and he attacked CNN's owner. 52,000 dead, and he tweeted about World Wrestling. 53,000 dead, and he tweeted, "Don't believe the fake news." We're on the brink now of 54,000 dead. And he's attacking the media, and he's attacking dumb Democrats, and he's tweeting about world wrestlers. We have to report this, even though it's insane. We have to fact check what he's doing, even though it's disturbing. Because here's why. Because poll after poll says that most Americans don't trust what President Trump says, but some people do. Tens of millions of people do say they trust him. What he says and what he tweets matters to them, and it reflects on America all around the world.
Continuing attacks on the media.
You are attacking our news organization. Can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are attacking our news organization. Can you give us a chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir.
Throughout his presidency, Trump frequently labeled the media as the enemy of the people and dismissed any unfavorable coverage of him
Can you state
You are
as
fake news.
Sir,
Go ahead.
can you?
In his fourth year, these attacks ramped up, with Trump undermining journalistic integrity and creating distrust in the free press. This erosion of trust in the media, and not to mention sciences, has to this day had far-reaching consequences. Withdrawing from the World Health Organization in the midst of a global crisis, a worldwide health pandemic, Trump withdraws the United States from the World Health Organization. Because why not?
Because they have failed to make the requested and greatly needed reforms, we will be today terminating our relationship with the World Health Organization and redirecting those funds to other worldwide and deserving urgent global public health needs.
Trump announced that the U.S. would withdraw from WHO, the World Health Organization, like claiming it was influenced by China. This decision was widely criticized as it undermined, at the time, international cooperation in fighting the coronavirus. Mismanaging COVID-19 relief efforts. Trump's mishandling of the COVID-19 economic relief efforts were widely criticized for being slow and insufficient, with widespread delays in delivering aid and mixed messages about safety measures.
The problem is they want to do bailouts of their various Democrat-run states and cities. And they want a lot of money. They want $1 trillion for that. And so they want to do much more than COVID-related. They want to bail out cities and states that have been in trouble for years of bad management. In all cases, Democrat-run cities, and we don't think that's fair.
Trump's economic response to the pandemic included delayed stimulus checks, insufficient support for small businesses, and a failure to extend unemployment benefits.
I can do that if I want, and I want to do that. I don't want people to be evicted. It's China's fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's China's fault. But number two, and if they are thrown out, they oftentimes will go to a shelter with tremendous numbers of other people, and the virus will spread, and we don't want that.
Many Americans face financial hardship as a result of the economic stimulus, and many economists agree that it's these very economic stimulus checks that led to the inflation that we all suffer with today. This mismanagement left many Americans struggling and without the necessary support. The attempt to repeal the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare.
Obamacare is dead.
Despite the ongoing global pandemic and health crisis, Trump continued to try to dismantle and repeal Obamacare, aka the Affordable Care Act.
The plan will be repeal,
which would have left millions without critical health insurance coverage at a critical time.
It'll be so good if they end it, because we will come up with a plan, which will be yeah, we will.
But you said it would already.
We have large sections of it already done.
His Supreme Court challenge risked exacerbating the healthcare crisis in the midst of the pandemic. Stripping healthcare from millions during a global pandemic would have been catastrophic. Persistent attempts to repeal the Affordable Care Act ignored the needs of vulnerable populations who depended on it for access to essential medical services.
Obamacare is dead.
And the #1 unkind deed by Trump in his final year as president, and it was a parting shot on the way out the door, the January 6th Capitol building riot. You knew this was going to be on the list.
Now it is up to Congress to confront this egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
Technically, it happened in 2021, but the January 6th violent insurrection on the Capitol building was a direct result of Trump's actions in 2020.
Another officer unconscious. The terrorist. What terrorist?
Everybody, we need gas masks. We need weapons. We need strong, angry patriots to help our boys. They don't want to leave.
His rhetoric about a stolen election and quoting fraud led to the violent insurrection that we witnessed on the Capitol building on January 6th. Inciting the riot, he was like the emperor rallying the dark side. Destruction and chaos ensue.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
Darth DoneOld.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
This guy's crazy. This guy's crazy.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the
You may see kindness as a weakness, but it is not. It is a strength. It takes real strength to stand up against cruel, vengeful, bigoted, racist, misogynistic, insurrection-starting, felonious, sexual assaulting, orange threats to democracy. And I can't do it alone. I need your help. And together
we will win. We will win. We will win. And part of the reason we will win is because I do believe when you know what you stand for, you know what to fight for. And we know we have an opportunity in this election to turn the page on a decade of Donald Trump trying to keep us divided and afraid of each other. That is who he is, but Pennsylvania, that is not who we are. And I know plenty of folks are just exhausted with it all and know that it is time to stop pointing fingers and to start locking arms. It is time. It is time for a new generation of leadership in America. And together with you, we will do this, and I am ready to offer that leadership as the next president of the United States of America.
If you enjoyed this video of Trump's top 10 unkind deeds in his final year as president, you were one sick puppy. And you might enjoy this video here.
You have failed me for the last time.
Vader.